looking beyond our solar system and starting to, just posit other different star systems, et cetera, that may have life or have had life. Do you spend any time in your own thought cycles, pondering, wondering, thinking about these legends of the Pleiades and the Sirius system that we find in these ancient cultures and some of these things that exist? Do you find any time in your own mind, like thinking about this from a plausible scientific standpoint?
I do. I don't think about the legends of old, although I've read about them a long time ago. But I think all of us as humans think about, is there life off the Earth? Are there civilizations? Thanks to astronomy and planetary science, we now know that the number of planets in the universe almost certainly exceeds the number of grains of sand on the Earth. It's just stunning to think about. All these different examples, and it's hard to believe that the numbers would work out that life has only arisen once or civilization has arisen once. What's really hard for me to reconcile with that is that when we look across the universe, we don't see obvious evidence of more advanced civilizations. I think it's probably because we don't know what to look for, the same way that the ants in Manhattan don't recognize the skyscrapers as not natural objects.
Right.
But there might be a different explanation. People have certainly had other ideas. But we are on a pathway to really discover this life across the universe and the civilizations too. And that's through the development of astronomy and planetary science. It's now told us the planets are ubiquitous. We've only known that really since the early 2000s. And then to find out that many of these planets are inhabitable zones where the temperature is right to have liquid water oceans, for example. So we're slowly getting the technology to inch our way forward to ultimately get to the answer and hopefully to find, other species that have also created civilizations that might be ahead of us that have solved some of our problems.
A lot of people would say and argue that these species did have a head start on us humans and have already been checking us out for a long time, and that there's a kind of global conspiracy to hide the evidence and hide the research. And obviously with new disclosure and privacy acts that have kind of come out, Freedom of Information Act, there has been a lot more strange, anomalous, unidentified flying object disclosures and encounter disclosures. It's a very interesting time that we're in now where that seems to be picking up momentum.
Well, it is. And Aubrey, I understand it in the sense that people generally know the Earth is billions of years old, and yet the human species is only millions of years old. And so it's natural to think other species might have come along a few million years before us, or maybe a billion years before us, and developed all this crazy technology and been able to do the kind of things we can't, like cross the galaxy and go visit other star systems. So it's a natural thing for people to think, but it's very hard for me to accept that a civilization that's that advanced that would come here all the way across these vast distances either wouldn't make themselves obvious because they could, and the same way that we didn't try to be stealthy about our explorations as human beings going out around our own planet, or if they wanted to be stealthy with all this ridiculous technology, why would they sort of be stealthy but not get it right?
Half-ass the job.
Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, from just putting on the philosopher's hat, I would posit that there are, and I have my own thoughts about, potential alien races and things. I'm not convinced that they're actually third dimensional beings anyways, because I've done a lot of psychedelic journeying for 22 years. Ayahuasca, all the different plant medicines, all the different DMTs. I've definitely encountered beings, but they're not third dimensional beings. They're astral beings. And perhaps these are just projections of my own mind. And perhaps the projections of your mind are actually the same as above, so below as these projections externally. So it all gets very confusing to start talking about. So I'm not convinced that they actually are. But however, let's put on the hypothetical proposition that they're actually third dimensional beings and they're actually traveling. I would suppose that as technological evolution, because even if you just look at humans, we are a kinder, more responsible, more moral people than we were at any point in history. Now, there's anomalies with that, but you look back, I mean, there's atrocities in every
But
different...
there's also, as you say, a trend that we're getting better at this.
We're getting better. We're getting better. I mean, it wasn't too long ago where there was the Inquisitions and slavery and all of these different crazy things that we were doing in this, manifest destiny where we just felt like it was cool to just conquer a new land, wipe everybody out.
Or some societies thought it was their manifest destiny.
Exactly. Right. All of this crazy shit. And we're getting better. We're not there yet, but we're getting better. So imagine, all right, another 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. I would suppose that we're going to become even better. We're going to become even kinder. Like we're not going to have orcas and tanks and everybody claps as they're deep in their own suffering just because they're an orca and we're a human. We're like, yeah, fuck it. They live half as long and their fins flop over and they start to go insane and they gnash their teeth against hard objects, but no big deal. Let's fucking keep the SeaWorlds open. Like eventually we're going to figure that shit out and be like, no, that's fucked up too. And all of this animal torture to give us more food, like, all right, let the animals live. I understand life needs to eat life, but let's not engage in these practices that are inhumane to all species. And I feel like we're going to get there. And I would suppose that the aliens potentially could have also gotten there. And they may just they may have some code where they're like, we don't want to interfere with them too much. However, and this is to go to the other point, which is why they wouldn't want to, first of all, make themselves totally known, but why they wouldn't want to completely make themselves unknown is potentially, and this is again, just hypothesis, I'm not saying it's real, but potentially they could be wanting to just let us know that their presence is there enough to kind of keep the rails on. Not disrupt us too much, but like kind of open the possibility like, hey, let's gradually let you know that this is a possibility. The surveys are showing that more people believe in us. People are going to freak out less. There's not going to be everybody pointing their guns up to the sky and trying to blast us. Some people still will. And eventually, when everybody's kind of chill, they'll just show up.
That's one scenario. My preferred scenario is completely different from yours.
Yeah.
It's that whatever's being released in military reports is just a cover story for something else. Uh-huh. And it's whether it's our technology or it's Chinese technology or whatever, for whatever reason, the government doesn't want us to know about it. They want to keep it a secret. And so they're saying, it's not a UFO, but we can't really explain it, which creates a wonderful meme for people to be distracted from it and go talk about UFOs. Mm-hmm. That's what I tend to think. But I'm open to more data. And,
of course. I think we're all eager to kind of understand where this might lie, and potentially in our lifetimes we'll know more. Like that's the interesting thing that I think a lot of us are curious about. It's like, will there be a time, and when what would that look like for our Earth?
Well, I think they're going to be within the lifetimes of people here on the Earth now. There are going to be a series of breakthroughs where we learn of examples of specific places where we have evidence for an alien biology. Mm-hmm. And then as we study more and more, we'll perhaps learn that there are civilizations, even that they're common. And then there'll be all kinds of sociological questions. Do they have a religion? Are they good to their planets? Or did they end up being?
We should ask those questions about ourselves.
Well,
first.
Of course, and we do ask those questions about ourselves. But did they end up the Federation or did they end up the Klingons? Right? Because there's nothing in the universe, and there's no physics that forces them to become better and better like we're becoming. There could be others that make a choice that's just screw it. This is just the way we want to be. We're bad guys. We're badass. That's it. I hope that that's
possibly,
not the case.
Unless that mindset, the mindset that creates a Klingon, is a mindset that would destroy itself. Like fundamentally, that mindset will eradicate itself because it is inherently self-destructive.
It might turn out that most civilizations do that, for example, and that's why they're hard to find. Most of them have self-destructed, and maybe, hopefully, we're on the verge of escaping that.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that science is going to determine all those things over the next century or two.